Hi, I'm Carly Reid from CX Today, bringing you all the latest news and conversation from the customer experience technology industry. Now, today I'm talking to John from Zendesk, and we'll be discussing messaging channels in CX. Welcome, John.
Great to be here, Carly.
Thanks for joining us today. So, John, how about we kick off with a quick intro? Why don't you tell us about what you do?
Okay, great. Well, firstly, let me introduce Zendesk. So Zendesk builds customer engagement software that helps our customers deliver great customer experiences. We were founded in 2007, Copenhagen, and we now have over 100,000 customers around the world. Myself, I lead our customer success team for EMEA. I have an amazing team of people who are experts in customer experience best practice and help our customers get the best out of Zendesk and maximize the return on investment of their customer experience.
Fantastic stuff. Thank you, John. So, John, tell us about what sort of conversations you're having with your customers at the moment.
Great question. And I guess it's almost trite to say, but COVID's been a huge shock to the world. You know, when I reflect back in terms of just the business impact to our customers, I think there's certainly a trend of accelerating changes that were already happening. We've done some research that say 46% of our customers say it's accelerated change by 1 to 3 years, and a further 22% say it's accelerated by 4 to 7 years. I think some of those have been talked about, you know, in terms of the shift away from bricks and mortar to online. So in whether that's retail, whether that's banking, that's certainly a shift. We've also obviously seen a huge shift of certain employees from being in office to at home. But I think there are also some other changes that have been forced through by the pandemic. I don't think anybody could imagine contacting their GP and having a consultation remotely until the pandemic. Some of those changes are going to stick. And I think, you know, I hope we are in the end game of COVID. And it's very interesting which of those behaviors from both a consumer and an employee, which of those behaviors are going to stick and remain with us. When I think about some of the constant themes, CX continuing to be an important differentiator is a constant theme, and people need to keep focusing on customer experience. Our research says that 75% of consumers and customers will spend more with companies that deliver a better customer experience. Through the pandemic, we've also seen, as a second sort of constant, customer service volumes just going up. So 16% increase on average on customers interacting with customer service teams. So that drive to deliver better efficiency and serve your customers is still there. Technology and agility is a third theme. I had a pretty depressing conversation with a customer service agent who wasn't a Zendesk customer in the second lockdown. This was a person who hadn't seen his family for 3 months because the technology didn't allow him to work from home. And he was really looking forward to get back to see his family. You know, technology shouldn't be a blocker. Far more positive stories. So one of our customers, Siemens Financial Services, so they're part of one of Europe's largest manufacturers. They moved their whole operation fully online within 48 hours. So the technology allowed them to make that shift. It also enabled them to eliminate some of the legacy processes that were based on paper that they hadn't really got around to automating. So great to see that technology allows that sort of agility to happen. And I think that will definitely be a constant theme. As COVID still, you know, I think there'll be still some changes that we'll need to react to. The final sort of two themes, self-service. That was a trend in EMEA. I think it was very new about 4 years ago. Before COVID, it was pretty much locked in. Most organizations had got a self-service strategy. Through the pandemic, that's been a key part to help customers respond to the changing environment, respond to customer requests, and manage that change. I think as we deepen our investment in AI, customers continually sort of refining, scaling, and optimizing their knowledge base is key just to continue self-service being a core part of everybody's customer experience. And finally, I'll talk really about one of the surprises, messaging channels, social media. That was one of the big surprises for me. Customers are definitely seeking more conversational experiences, but we've seen a 450% increase in customer service via things like WhatsApp.
Well, those are some really interesting conversations, John. Thank you so much for sharing those with us. But yeah, onto messaging channels now. So why do you think it's so important for businesses to add messaging channels to their CX offering?
So I think about customer experience. There are two aspects to it. There's one, the improving your customer experience, so you deliver a better service for your customer. And there's a tension with how you manage your cost to serve. Messaging is one of those opportunities where you can improve your customer experience whilst managing your costs. So it's a perfect scenario for many organizations to invest in. There's some parallels with other non-live asynchronous communication channels like chat. But maybe if I start with what are the benefits for customer experience. So number one, customers are definitely seeking more conversational experiences. As part of the research, the feedback we consistently get. Meeting customers where they are. I always think about a mobile phone. There's space on that home screen for about 24 apps. There's certain brands that are going to be able to command a space as one of those 24 for some customers. I think about my car, it's there. For other brands, it's tough to ensure that you're there, but you can guarantee that every consumer, especially during the pandemic, has got a messaging app there. So spending time where your customers are is really critical. I think there's also, both with messaging and with other asynchronous channels, there's space for thinking about customers in different scenarios. If I lose my umbrella on a train, there's not a huge amount of urgency with me. I'm quite happy to place a message and for it to be responded to at some point in time. Very different if I'm about to miss a flight or something that's really important to me. So messaging is critical in terms of the offer, and obviously depending on an organization's customer experience and the needs of their customers, planning in a strategy to think about how messaging will form part of your overall customer experience is hugely important.
So, John, you kind of mentioned there the ways that sort of messaging channels can really help CX, but can you tell us a few examples of the ways that it can also help boost the employee experience as well?
Yeah, so I think when I think about employee experience, there's a great quote from our customers, Tesco's. Tesco's have 500,000 employees and use Zendesk to help manage both their office-based staff and their in-store staff. They have a principle which is about treating their colleagues with as much care as they give their customers. It's really important because it's those colleagues, it's those employees who are serving your customers. I think certainly as a home worker now, there are definitely scenarios that are less urgent. So I'm very happy to use a non-real-time asynchronous channel to answer some of those questions and almost use it as a kind of fire and forget, in terms of a query or request that I have. What's key in terms of making sure your employees are happy, in the same way as with customers, is that you have trust that when you do ask a question, it's going to get answered. Nobody wants to get back on the phone to say, hey, you haven't answered my question, where is it? So that's really how I think about employee experience. What's really interesting with Tesco's, that scale they have, so 500,000 employees, scale is important. And this is irrespective of whether it's employee experience or customer experience. So that aspect of how do you make sure you can minimize the cost to serve, whether that's cost to serve for employees or cost to serve for customers, is really, really important. This is where messaging channels can really come into their own. The ability to deliver a more efficient customer service because agents can handle multiple chats at the same time. The ability to integrate bots and AI and your knowledge base into a conversational thread so you can answer the FAQs using technology rather than person, while still having a person there to pick up the conversation where it's a more complex channel. Hugely, hugely important. Also, and finally, in terms of that sort of managing the cost to serve, being able to handle peaks and troughs in demand, there's huge flexibility with messaging and asynchronous channels in order to manage the availability of agents to the demands of an organization. And it's possible across both employees and customer experience to do both the driving customer experience up and improving the cost to serve. So one of the examples I love, one of our customers called Back Market, great propositions. They help reuse older technology by providing a marketplace for refurbished phones so they don't end up in landfills. Great. Through using and integrating messaging into their app, they delivered a 5-point increase in their CSAT whilst delivering faster responses than other channels. So for me, it's a perfect example of that. CX up, cost down, sweet spot that everybody needs to be thinking about and focusing on.
Fantastic stuff. So thank you so much, John. I've really, really enjoyed speaking with you today, and thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks very much, Carly. Pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you too. So that's it from us. If you've enjoyed our conversation, then please do give us a shout out on social. And if you're a CX fan and want to see more like this, then you can subscribe to our weekly newsletter at cxtoday.com. I'm Carly Reid from CX Today. Thanks for watching.